Hi everyone, welcome back to the Daily Defender. Great to be with everybody. Glad you're here with us again. Glad that we're with you. Certainly want to thank all the new subscribers. We've had kind of a little bit of an onslaught of new subscribers this week, so welcome and thank you for supporting the channel. I'm glad you're enjoying all the content and the different things that we're talking about, so really appreciate that. Also appreciate all the views. We're getting hundreds and hundreds of new views now per week, if not almost daily. So again, thank you for all of that. And again, I'm glad everybody's kind of enjoying the content and having fun with what we're putting out. So, but usual admin, we need more subscribers. As I said over and over, it's just the way this is. We can't really do things with the channel until we get a certain number of subscribers. So please subscribe. Please hit the subscribe button, hit the bell. We're getting a lot of likes, but please continue to do that, and really do want more comments because I really enjoy interacting with you all, and the feedback on similar firearms that you've owned or that you've been in a shop and saw something and passed on it, or now know a little bit more. That's just really great. It's one of the reasons I wanted to start this channel. So, and the other admin, the usual, my face is blurred because of my day job, and I want to express my content on my channel. And that's that. So with that out of the way, what I thought we would do today was take a look at a few of the smaller pistols, and smaller in the sense of these kind of the single stack. But I also thought what I would do today is do a little bit of a comparison. The main crux of the video will be a Smith & Wesson, again, a third gen, a 3914, and of course this is a cleared firearm, cleared and safe. And so that's going to be the main crux, and this is basically a single stack 9mm. So, and we'll get into that once we get into the deep dive and all that. But you can kind of see the physical size of that pistol. This is not a very large pistol. It's a very thin pistol, single stack 9mm. Back in the 90s, how about that? Single stack 9mm. Somebody was thinking about that in the 90s. But the other thing I thought I would do, and again, we've got another cleared and safe firearm, is take a look at another single stack, a little bit more from the late 80s, time frame, but a Beretta, a Cheetah, an 85BB. Now, this actually is a 380 caliber, but another single stack, and again, another very small, relatively small, thin pistol, very well made, just as the Smiths are. And I thought that would be kind of an interesting comparison, because they're both in the single stack 80s, 90s time frame, and really they would have probably been in a case as options for you back in that time frame. And then the other thought I had, and again another cleared and safe firearm, was just a little comparison, just to throw something else in there. That's just a 5-shot J-frame. This is a 442-1, but just from kind of a size comparison, right? Because we're talking about 8+1. Really, that's what we're having in the single stack mags for either the Smith or the Beretta. And so 8+1, maybe somebody's thinking, I'll just grab my J-frame Smith, my snubby, and go with that as a 5-shot. So just from a little bit of a size comparison, and maybe another option within this small carry type pistol. So I thought that would be a little fun if we did that, put the Beretta side by side and just talk a little bit about that as we talk through the 3914 single stack 9 from Smiths. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's take our deep dive. Right, so getting into our deep dive, as I discussed in the intro, the main firearm that we want to talk about today is the Smith & Wesson 3914. And this is a 3rd gen pistol, so this is similar to the 5904 video, if you haven't seen that, or the latest video I had put out regarding the 910, the Value Series pistol that I had, and what information I knew about that. But I thought there'd be a lot of interest in these small, both single stack. Smith & Wesson made these small 3rd gens in a single stack, which this is. The 3914 was a single stack, and the larger 6904, I believe it was the double stack.
and both are very popular. When I hear and read things and talk to people, there's a lot of interest in these smaller, what Smith and Wesson actually called compact pistols. There really weren't subcompact, and I don't really think they necessarily fit subcompact. So I'm in agreement with compact, but they are on the smaller side. And this is obviously a cleared and safe pistol. And one of the interesting things that I had picked up on is I believe that there were some custom gun shops back in the day that were taking full-size Smith & Wessons and cutting them down and basically making this style, this size pistol. And I believe Smith & Wesson caught on to that, or picked up on the popularity, or maybe there was even some kind of joint venture. I don't know. Here again, it would be great to hear from you all if somebody was a little bit closer to that or had some direct knowledge of that. But that's what I seem to recall over the years and through different readings, that some custom gun makers were starting to cut down full-size Smith & Wessons, and that's kind of how it made it into the third-gen line. Another point would be that there were no compact pistols in the first or second generation Smith & Wesson line, so we have to wait until the third gens come along before we get a pistol of this size. And then, as I alluded to or stated in the intro, I thought it might be kind of fun to compare it with another pistol kind of in this era. This is also a cleared and safe firearm, but the Beretta, in this case, another single stack, and this one's an 85BB. And I thought that would be kind of interesting because there would have definitely been some commercial similarities to that, right? As I alluded to again in the intro, perhaps if you were walking into the shop and looked in the case, it's very possible that you would have seen these two firearms side by side or case by case or something like that. So I thought it'd be kind of a little fun comparison. And then again, I think you maybe you still can't, this is again another safe and clear firearm, maybe can't exactly take a little 5-shot Smith & Wesson snub nose out of the equation as well, especially if you're kind of talking through these sizes and considering it as a concealed carry, 8+1, etc. Perhaps a lot of diehard revolver fans will just stick with their 5-shot J-frame Smith, which obviously is an excellent choice as well. But anyways, just kind of starting off in our usual start point, I'll put the J-frame here over to the side for a minute. And just talk through this 3914. So these were firearms, as I mentioned, that were part of the third generation line. And they, here again, these would have been produced in the 90s. And in fact, this is truly a 90s platform. This was not something that they brought into the 88, 89 range like the 5904 I had mentioned. This was truly a 1990s pistol for them. And the 3914, as this one is, was only made for 6 years, if my understanding is correct, from about 1990 through 1996. This particular version that I own is a 1995, so it's mid to getting near the end of the production run, so it has that kind of era to it. But again, it's a single stack 9mm pistol that would have a 3.5-inch barrel. So obviously we have a smaller barrel now. And but all of the main features of the third gen Smiths are really still in play with the small frame single stack, and we can run down that like we usually do. Here again, we have a carbon steel slide with an aluminum frame. If we look at the carbon steel slide, you can tell this is a full-featured gun and not a value series gun because of the machining on the slide, the matte finish up top, which of course is always very nice, but a slightly better finish on the side. This one also has the rear serrations, like all the third gens have, and it still has the ambi decocker safety. So that all kind of stays the same. We don't really change there. The sights continue to be the 3-dot Novak, and you can see that there. All metal, both front and rear are metal, so extremely durable front and rear sights. The hammer is bobbed, right? So again, we have a lot of thought put into this firearm from a concealed carry standpoint, detective type gun, undercover police, law enforcement type firearm, etc. So very nice thought put through there with the bobbed hammer. Very clean, very well done. Moving down onto the frame. Again, we've got an aluminum frame. Traditional third gen slide stop, slide release, whichever term you care to use. Again, we're still in the late 90s or mid to late 90s, so we have a curved trigger guard. We have a flat face trigger, which almost all the third gens are. We don't really talk about that too much, but it's a flat face trigger. We have a checkering on the front here, on the front strap, and we once again have checkering on the front of the trigger guard. So, you know, that kind of machining and that kind of touch put through there. Thankfully, again, we still have the undercut, so that continues through all the third gens, which is such a nice touch. You can see here on the frame, however, that the beaver tail now is nowhere near as pronounced as it would have been on a 5904. So a smaller beaver tail, again, folding into the concept of the small concealed carry, concept of this particular pistol. We still have the full wraparound Xenoi grips. This one is a straight back grip, as we've talked about before. There were both kind of this curved hump back and this straight back, but this particular one has the one I prefer, which is the straight back. We have traditional double action, single action, so this is still working like all the other third gen or traditional third gen. Of course, there were DAO only, double action only firearms that Smith & Wesson produced, but this is more of the traditional style that you see normally and was kind of the standard double action, single action, meaning the pistol had to be fired double action first. Rotation of the slide would put the firearm in single action mode, and then you had a very short take up. And the pistol will fire. You notice that the trigger is disengaged because, again, all of the third gen pistols have standard, actually, again, second gen and first gen, really the Smith & Wesson semi-auto line as standard has a magazine disconnect, which means that the pistol will not fire without that magazine in place. And of course, we know we've got a clear and safe firearm, and so that would be how that would operate. And again, you would not have trigger function with the magazine out. And we've talked about that in other videos. There's basically that was a concept for law enforcement, so that a police officer, if he was losing control of the firearm, could eject the magazine and render the pistol safe. As I stated at the very beginning, this is a single stack. So we have an 8-round magazine, so 8+1. And again, a very well-made metal magazine. These were very well done. This one has the orange follower. Interesting, it has almost harking back to the design of the follower of the first gen with this kind of pattern. Find that interesting on a third gen gun. It's stamped 9mm. It has the Smith & Wesson trademark stamp, and it has a very nice extender for a grip extender, I should say, on the magazine. So some real thought out portions to this pistol. Again, we're thinking about something that was introduced in 1990. So, certainly design criteria was probably 89 and 88, but was physically brought out into the catalog in 1990. And we have 9mm single stack. We have an undercut, and we have a very nice pinky extension on the magazine. So this is a very, very popular firearm. Even today, I know that a lot of people look for these in shops. Like I said, either the single stack or the double stack. I really, really enjoy this firearm. I also have the stainless steel version, which is usually my summer carry gun. But it's very, very enjoyable to shoot. I was shooting it the other day, and it's obviously very third gen like, and it's just very, very manageable. The weight is there to help manage some recoil, but it is by no means heavy. This is definitely a very, very nice concealed carry firearm. In the past, I had owned several Glocks, the 43 and the 43X, and shot this side by side. And for me personally, there was no comparison. This just shot so much better, obviously due to the weight, right? But that managed recoil, and for me, a little bit more real estate on the grip. And again, I enjoy, as I've said before, all metal guns. I like double action, single action, and so this was just a great firearm, and really did take the place of my two Glocks. It just did not require those anymore for, basically what this firearm is capable of doing and what I need it to do. This one's in I would say very good shape, or certainly good shape. As I alluded to in a couple of the other videos, the Smith & Wesson bluing of that period, had a little bit of question mark. Again, it's difficult or kind of tough to be a harsh judge of that, because they probably didn't have all of the technologies that they do today, of course. But this one has, if you kind of just get it in the light, you can see some of a little bit of wear and up on the high points. Nothing out of the ordinary or something that would probably really bother anybody, but you can just see a few high marks, high point marks where there's a little bit of wear. I don't carry this one as much. Obviously, somebody else did. It has a little bit of wear down on the checkering on the front grip. But pretty traditional to see this style of wear on these Smiths. To me, this is very normal. Again, you can kind of see it through here. Maybe I'll try to get that up. That's even better. You guys can see that a little bit better. Very, very traditional wear on the outside. But the pistol functions perfectly. I've never had an issue with it. Again, I shot it the other day. It's really nice to have it out on the range, and it's one of my favorite Smith & Wesson third gen platforms. The 5904s, as you guys heard me talk about, is definitely one of my favorites. But these single stacks, they're just kind of a treat to own, and if you can find one in good shape, definitely, if you're considering one, I wouldn't hesitate to pick one up. So that's our 3914, and again, I thought it would just be a little fun to just kind of show the Beretta. By no means do I have the knowledge base that I do on the Smith & Wesson, but again, this would have been a firearm that could have certainly been an option. This is, as I said, the Beretta 85BB. It is also referred to as the Cheetah, and it's a very pretty firearm. I mean, there's an elegance to this, in my opinion. Obviously, kind of an Italian. It is an Italian firearm, but I meant the kind of the Italian design lines to it. There's definitely some thought put into it. I find it to be a very, very visually appealing, attractive firearm. Of course, it also kind of looks like its bigger brother, the Beretta 92, which is kind of fun and a neat part of the firearm. This particular one is chambered in .380, and it's interesting they even call it 9mm short. And I guess if anybody's interested, how short is short? Well, that's going to be a .380. And that's going to be a 9mm. And if we can get those to stay next to each other, well, right, that's short. So 9mm short, or .380 versus 9mm. So those would be the two calibers: the 9 for the Smith and the .380 for the Beretta. What can I tell you about this? Again, my knowledge base is a very, very well-built platform, probably over-engineered, just as the Smiths were for law enforcement, military-type work. We have, I believe, a carbon steel slide, again with an aluminum frame. We've got these nice rear serrations, which take up a good part of the slide. It has a all metal sights. The front sight, and it's not a 3-dot, but it's I guess you would call that a maybe a snowman style. I can't really get that on there. Sorry about that. There we go. Basically, you've got one white dot in the rear, and this kind of half moon, and then obviously a single white dot up front. Very slim pistol, as you can see here. Again, very similar to the Smith. I'd probably give the edge to the Smith a little bit, only because it doesn't need the side panel grips. And this particular pistol came with a plastic grips, but and that was interesting. It had this kind of look and feel to it, you know, in all black. But again, the Beretta for me had a little bit of this elegance, and I found a set of new Beretta wood grips that I put on there, and for me, it just kind of sets it off. I do like the wood against the blued guns, very much like my 39, my Smith & Wesson 39-2, which is a video I did a while back. If you haven't seen that one, you might be pretty interested in that as well. Just very, very elegant pistols. Slightly different setup. It's still an 8-shot, I should say. So 8-shot single stack, all metal magazine, again, very well made. You can just, you can feel that. Just a lot of quality built into these Beretta firearms. The functionality is more of a single action firearm, where in the sense that you would load the firearm and you would then rack the slide and come forward, and you would be in this position, and you would have two choices. You could either put the safety up and on, and you could carry that in a cocked and locked format, and then obviously after drawing the pistol you would have to disengage the safety in order to fire it, or you would have to very carefully, in a safe direction, release the hammer and put it down into a double action condition, if you will, and then you would be able to pull the trigger and fire the firearm. This one does not have a magazine disconnect, so it will fire. The trigger will activate with the magazine out. Beretta has a groove trigger, or maybe somebody would call that a target trigger, so it's not a smooth trigger. It's a very enjoyable firearm to shoot. Here again, very smooth action. The 380 is an easy round to fire, and this is a very nice firearm. These were, my understanding is, and again, viewers can correct me, but that these are still being made, but very, very kind of difficult to get new in the U.S. But there are quite a number of them out, coming in as trade-ins, law enforcement or security trade-ins, imported from Europe, etc. And I believe that's what mine is as well. I got this one for about, I think it was around $400 or so. Kind of gets us into the Smith range. The Smiths are more expensive. It appears used. I think if you were looking at a new Beretta Cheetah, if you could actually locate one, you're probably looking at, a solid $700 or $800. You obviously can't get a third-gen Smith new. So just an interesting comparison. They came to me, or my thought was, if you're talking about single stack, compact, thin carry firearms, that these two, would definitely or could have definitely been options for somebody when walking into that shop back in the late 80s, or let's call it early to mid 90s. The finish on the Beretta seems very good to me. I think it has maybe a higher quality finish than the Smith, but that's just visually looking at it and from other examples. Although this one is in very good shape. There's just not a lot of wear on this at all, in my opinion. Some of the bluing here, you have this high gloss bluing, again, harking back maybe to its age and kind of elegance. This, again, to me, reminds me of a Smith & Wesson 39 or 59 with this, the first-gen Smiths with this high gloss. So just a very nice little firearm, just an elegant. Weight-wise, they feel about the same to me. This one feels a little bit more almost maybe top heavy, kind of a little hard to explain, but weight wise, I didn't weigh him before we started the video. And then of course, like I said, just for comparison, we can, you know, get a 5-shot J-frame in here just to see, you know, if that's, you know, that's definitely smaller. There's no question about it, than either of them. But, you know, this too probably was a consideration in the case. If you were looking for a small firearm, obviously this would have been most likely, this one is, in a 38 caliber, opposed to the 9mm or the 380. But, you know, would have been another carry option that you were most likely considering back in the 80s and 90s. Maybe not this particular model, most likely back then, but still could have been a solution for you and as your carry. So that's, you know, that's really what I wanted to present today, kind of a shorter video, a little bit of a condensed one, or talking about a number of different points all at the same time. Again, my affinity for Smith & Wesson, obviously well known with the channel, and this is the 3914 and its sister in stainless steel. You know, they're just great firearms. I do carry these, I do shoot these, and I think it's an excellent choice. Again, if you're looking for or wanting one in your collection, or even thinking about a all-metal gun that's double action, single action, double action, yeah, single action. And again, I think it's interesting too, right, with the new Smith & Wesson CSX pistol that they've come out, almost getting kind of close to this, right? I mean, slightly different, obviously, in its function, but interesting that here currently they feel there's an interest and a need for an all steel frame, metal frame gun like that CSX. So again, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you liked the content. Please continue to subscribe, hit the like button, give us some comments. Would love to hear comments about the Beretta if you own one, if you're looking for one. Same thing with the Smith 3914. Just, you know, would be great to get some comments from you guys. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for spending some time with us, and we'll see you next time on the Daily Defender.